Ryan Flynn, Chief Executive of Baseball New Zealand, joins us to go through a few issues on opening day. Ryan, you should be sitting there watching Channel 61, 12 consecutive hours of baseball.
Oh, don't worry, it's being taped right now.
You're taping the whole lot?
Oh, the whole thing, of course. Yeah, I'll get through it.
I can't believe they didn't put the Indians game on later this afternoon. It's the Angels.
We're hoping to see the Diamondbacks as well, but the Mariners will be a good game to see with Robbie Cano, and seeing Chris Woodward, who's a friend of Baseball New Zealand, got called up as the new infield coach for the Mariners. So there's a lot to see for us.
And you had the national champs on the weekend. Always a big weekend, isn't it, for your sport?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the shocking thing was Howick Pakuranga lost for the first time, and they were going for a four-peat, and North Shore City, which is actually the fastest-growing baseball program in the country, took out the upset victory. But it was a real barn burner. It was back and forth, and a lot of those ball players, played college or pro ball, and it was a great game. And it was anybody who saw it, if you weren't a fan before, you'd be a fan afterwards. That's for sure.
Well, Ryan, I saw the final last year between those same two sides, and the Howick Pack side just creamed them. So, what's changed in the space of 12 months?
Well, there's turnover, right? We're a different kind of sport. We push a lot of kids out of this country. So to be fair to Howick Pakuranga, they've been around a while. They've developed more college and professional baseball players than any club in this country. And they'll lose 5 to 6 key players every single year and hope to replenish by getting some back or kids rising up through the system. At the same time, North Shore is really grown quickly, and what they've been able to do is put good leadership in place, and they've got a lot of top coaching from Korea and Japan, and they're baseball people. I know there's a lot of Koreans and Japanese Kiwis up on the North Shore, and they're starting to build a very special club and program in that part of the country, and that's showing itself every day now.
You're well connected with people in Australia, Ryan, and you were there for the recent season opening games between the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. What was the reaction out of Sydney and out of Australia as to whether that thing was a success or not?
It was on every single front. It was a success. The Australians themselves in the Federation didn't take a lot of the risk on. They had a promoter, Jason Moore, who did that. So really for them, it was all icing on the cake, whatever happened. And it was an enormous success. They expect their numbers, which are already climbing, to be bumped considerably. I mean, I was coming through the airport after a week in Tokyo just this past weekend, and people were still buzzing about the event, non-baseball people. And I think what they saw was, Australia's done it right for a while, and people forget that they're a top 10 country in the world in baseball. They've had 30 Major League Baseball players, and they've had hundreds of professional players and college baseball players. And finally, the country as a whole was able to see that they've developed world-class talent, something that we're just starting to do in this country on a wider level. And so they were finally recognized. And there were some very moving moments to see these guys recognized, because they've never been put on the same pedestal that the AFL, the Rugby League, the Rugby Union, the cricket guys have been. But for this one time they were. And they were shown to be great, and it was a huge, huge moment for Australian baseball. But what we tried to do is sell it as a regional victory, because we obviously are rising up too, and we stuck our elbows into that entire celebration and basically said, don't forget about New Zealand. We've had 7 kids sign in the last 15 years. We're developing college players. We want to get into the ABL, and we achieved everything we wanted to achieve during those few days while we were over there with our delegation as well. So
and of course, Ryan, the conversation would turn to New Zealand and what we may expect in terms of big name players here, and the possibility of actually getting a game to somewhere like Eden Park. What percentage chance would you give it in the next 5 years?
Percentage chance, I'd say 65, 75% chance, if you wanted just to say it right now. I mean, we've got good support from a lot of people in Major League Baseball. We had a great meeting with Paul Archie, James Pierce, and Tom Nicholson. James and Paul are 2 of the top officials in New York. We've walked Eden Park in the last 18 months. We know it fits. We know there's a lot of rabid baseball fans in this country. Fans that just want to see the game. A lot of Kiwis traveled across to watch the games. But we're also, at the core of everything we do, Kent, if we weren't developing players, then there wouldn't be the interest. But the world tends to believe, maybe even more than New Zealand sometimes, that New Zealand can and will be a legitimate baseball nation. Eden Park is vested in this, as is ATEED and the U.S. government. And we had great support. Sky TV, John Follett was with us. We had a pretty powerful delegation that were really on point, and we were together. And Major League Baseball said it was the best presentation they've ever seen from a nation desiring the rise of baseball. And I know Brett O'Reilly from ATEED was on Tony Veach's show the other day, and he talked about it as a 3 or 4 part movement, to develop the game. If we're talking a boutique stadium in Auckland, at the same time we're talking a Major League Baseball All-Star game at Eden Park, hopefully tying those two in together in the next 2 years, where one rises off the back of the other and is a good promotion for the rise of the game in this city, in this country. And that's what we're going to try to do. So I talked to Major League Baseball again this morning, and what we've asked them to do is open up their numbers to us for an MLB All-Star game like they did in 2011 in Taiwan, where they had Robbie Cano and Curtis Granderson, Mark Melancon. They had 2 members of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they had members of the Yankees. And, and remember, we had an incredible 2-hour conversation with the owner and the top officials from the Arizona Diamondbacks. So on the morning of opening day, we met with Ken Kendrick, the managing partner, Derek Hall, who was here in November with Paul Goldschmidt. And we are very, very close, Kent, to developing an individual relationship with a Major League Baseball team like the Arizona Diamondbacks. I can't really hide that anymore, which team it is. And this could be a game changer for baseball in this country. And again, if you go to the core root of everything we're doing, we have to develop talent. And we know the talent is in this country. We all know that.
Ryan, before we let you go, tell us about your trip to Japan on a bit of a recruitment drive.
Yeah, that's a game changer as well. We think, we're well positioned. Now, Yuki Shimizu, one of the best pitchers in the world over the past 12 years, pitched in the World Baseball Classic and the Olympics for Japan. And if you make the roster for Japan in baseball, you're one of the top players in the world. He saw us perform in the World Baseball Classic qualifiers in Taipei in 2012. Loved what he saw, wrote us a letter, came through our guys, Craig McFarlane at Sport New Zealand, sent it to us. Long story short, the guy is moving his family, his wife and 3 kids, to Auckland to help us build up a world-class baseball program. So we were featured in every major media outlet, Baseball New Zealand, in Japan, and had the run of the place for a 48-hour period. Every major TV station featured Baseball New Zealand, and it's just amazing. We set out 4 years ago to link up with America and Japan, for them to big brother us, just like we big brother those countries in rugby, but to let them big brother us in baseball. And now we're well positioned to do exactly that. And it's just a very exciting time for baseball in this country.
You always talk with a lot of enthusiasm, Ryan. We do appreciate your time on Radio Sport. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
On Radio Sport, thanks.